afternoon, Tim.
How are you doing, Mike?
Terrific, sir.
Good.
You're here with us with the Elite Home Sales Team OC podcast. We have Tim Lorenz and myself, Mike Van Ruth. There was an interesting conversation you were having this morning in that team meeting with one of the visitors there. I thought that would be a great topic. Can you elaborate more on that conversation and what you guys were talking about?
Absolutely. The whole thing that we were talking about had to do with ethics, morality in the business. And one of the things that I'm seeing is a slackening, if you will, with a lot of agents. And I'm saying that, and I'm going to retract that a little bit. There are agents who are less than honest, and that's what the discussion was about.
Okay, so less than honest. Let's get in. You had some examples going on there. You know, that's very a broad statement, but specifics. What are we talking about out there?
Well, one of the things that is a real issue for me, and that is with my background. I ran the homeowner fraud division for Los Angeles County for a number of years. And one of the things that I hear is an awful lot of people who want to get busy finding property for an investor. Mm-hmm. That's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. And so then the investor wants to buy it inexpensively. And as an agent, it is our responsibility to make sure that we communicate how much that property is worth to the seller. We have a fiduciary duty. That's the highest financial duty you can have to somebody. That means we can't give up what their problems are to the buyer. We can't harm them. We must make sure we're doing the best job we can for them. That's by law. And what happens is, in a lot of instances, rather than doing that, the agent goes out for this investor and finds a property and then convinces that person to sell it below market so that his buyer can make money. That's never okay.
Well, no, so what you're trying to say is that he's going out initially representing the investor and misrepresenting himself to the seller as, hey, I'm representing you,
yes,
but not having that fiduciary responsibility to them in order to benefit the investor.
Yes. And I think it has a lot to do with not being trained well. I'm not going to say they're all criminals, but it's not okay, and it is actually illegal to do that. Their license would be in jeopardy. So that was one of the things we were talking about, but it got off into a few more things. I really take the duty and responsibility of a real estate agent seriously. We can do this job to a very high level and do well for our client, no matter which side of the table we're on, representing buyers or representing sellers. And we do that by understanding how it all comes together, how it works together, understanding negotiation, which I love. I mean, that's my strong suit, is being able to negotiate for my clients. But it's a serious thing to not, I don't see gray parts where you just kind of almost go illegal. It's black and white. We do things the right way, and we do them on purpose the right way. And everybody can win in that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I liked about Keller Williams when we first came to Keller Williams, and that is win-win or no deal. Now, don't take that too far, everybody out there. When I say win-win, no deal, I am going to do the best for my client and try and get them the best deal if they're represented on the other side with somebody. But I work for my client, but I don't go beyond that. I never want to hurt anybody in a transaction, and some find joy in that.
And I understand exactly what you're talking about, because even when you're representing both parties and there's an understanding between both the seller and buyer that you're representing both sides, it makes me really nervous, and you really mind your P's and Q's going, okay, I'm not doing anything that's going to harm one or the other, and just being straightforward with these folks, rather than at least they know I represent both sides. But in the case you're talking about, they're kind of out there for the investor and then kind of misrepresent themselves. Hey, I'm here for you to sell your property.
Yes, that's exactly the way most people would see it. The way I see it as a trainer of agents, as well as a team leader for the elite home sales team, OC, is they're out for themselves. They really aren't out for the investor. They really aren't out for the seller. They're out for how much money they can get in immediate gratification. And that's always a sign of a bad agent.
Yeah, and not to toot my own horn or anything, I'm constantly asked, when I have a deal coming up, what are you going to be making off that? And I literally don't know.
Right.
I don't even do the math because I don't want my mind attaching itself to the end result, that paycheck, focusing on the paycheck. I don't even consider there being any money there because I want to focus totally on the process I'm doing for my client. And then paycheck will happen.
Exactly.
But I'm not sitting there doing mental calculation. Oh, I'm going to get this much money out of it because it's going to taint me.
Exactly. Not only will it taint you, but those of us who are on total commission sales, which is real estate, we don't get a paycheck. So if you're focused on the money, you'll never do a good job. You
No.
can't. You can't do it. And as I always like to tell people, and this year I've sold homes that were two $3.4 million homes, three $1.7 million homes, and a whole slew of $300,000 homes. And it's the same work.
Exactly.
It's the same work. And I've had different clients of mine come up and say, would you help me? My daughter's looking, or son, or my son and daughter-in-law, whatever it is, a family member or a friend, they're only looking for a condo. Would you do that? Of course. I mean, I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to do the best I can for whatever client that I take. And the result of that is a big business, which I've had over the years.
Yeah, because you could do the mental condo, doing the math. That's not worth my time. That's not what we do. We're real estate agents. We're here to represent people, no matter what the amount is.
And last year, not this year, last year, actually, my church asked me if I would help somebody who was in trouble, and I helped them move a $40,000 mobile home.
Was that the one to Hemet?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, but
It's the same work, and
Yes.
and what we try to do is help our clients win. If we're helping our clients win, we're doing the job. And I never not taken on a job because of the price of the home. I have not taken on the job because either the client and I couldn't come together on what we were trying to do, or they're asking me to do something that is not legal. Either one of those two things will cause me to say, no, I'd prefer not to take this.
not to change gears there, but you bring up an interesting topic. It kind of follows the same line. Having that honesty with a client. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, give me a little more.
Okay. It's you can tell that the situation's not going to work based on what they're trying to accomplish. That's going to push you outside your ethical bounds.
Oh, yeah.
Or the other way around, where you're able to be honest, go, hey, you know what? I want the paycheck. But, I'm not going to jeopardize my license. I'm not going to jeopardize my reputation to do that for you. Do you have examples of that?
Well, I've had situations that have come up, but it's usually before I've taken on the job. There's been no contract between myself and somebody who sits down, tells me they want to do things that I feel would be outside of the realm of possibility for me to do. One would be working for an investor who wants me to go and find somebody who's in trouble, beat them down, and basically, I'm sorry, everybody, it's the way I see it, steal their property to give it to them so they can flip it and make a huge fortune. I'm okay with flipping properties. I just don't want to hurt anybody in the process. So I would turn that down. I would say I'm not comfortable with that. They will find an agent that'll do that.
Oh, I'm sure there are plenty out there.
There are plenty that do it. And I'm not saying that all flippers are bad. I'm not saying investors are bad. I'm just saying I can't do that because I have a fiduciary duty to the seller. That would be this hand.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where I come from. I've always been that way. I want to do a good job for the people I represent. And if you're saying, well, represent me, I'm the buyer, but I have a fiduciary duty only to the seller if I'm going to represent both sides. And I have to tell him that person is coming in, he wants to pay under market. We have an obligation to tell them what the real market value is of their home. We can't not say that. And a lot of agents just come in and say, will you take X number of dollars cash right now, today? Yet I know, because of the technique I use, that if I find somebody in trouble and they don't have to sell in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that I can put that on the market, and our average has been pretty regularly somewhere between 105 and 107% of the original asking price. So if we're able to do that well, why would I try and convince them to go under by a substantial amount? I just can't do that. That just wouldn't cross my. It just would cross my line of being fair and unfair.
Okay. Now, I don't think a lot of people understand, or folks out there, that relationship, your fiduciary duty. So say, for instance, you're the listing agent, you're representing the seller, somebody comes along and you're going to do both ends. They ask you to be their agent in regards to that. A lot of people misunderstand that relationship and who they actually represent, or where those lines are crossed or can be crossed. Can you explain a little bit about that?
The fiduciary duty extends to the seller. If you're coming in as a buyer and I represent the seller and want me to represent you, I can do both. It's legal. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done it many times.
As long as it's disclosed to both parties.
Absolutely.
And they're okay with it.
But the problem becomes if I know, say, the seller is getting divorced, they are losing their job, whatever it is, I cannot use that, tell the buyer, so the buyer can use that as leverage in a negotiation. That would be breaching that fiduciary right. I have to do the highest level, give the highest level of care to that seller so that they get the top dollar. What everyone is looking for if they're listing their home is the highest amount of money in the shortest amount of time.
With the least amount of headaches.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And I have never forgotten that. That's what I do. Now, do I represent buyers? Yes. Now, if I'm going in as a buyer's agent and it's somebody else's listing, I'm all over it. I mean, I'm trying to find out whatever I can. I don't have any problem saying to a selling agent, so what do you think they would take?
You wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't.
But the person answering that, if they say anything other than full price, is not giving the highest level of care. They can't say, oh, I think they'd take $15,000, $30,000, $50,000 off. Oh, I know it's over listed price. Bring me in a price of this and I'll get it through.
And we all know agents who've done that.
Too many.
It's
Just ask me, folks. Go ahead. Anytime on my listing. Well, what do you think they'd take? Well, I'm sure they'd take full price. Or more.
Exactly.
So it's, again, I think it's poor training rather than saying they're trying to make a living. It is not an easy business, no matter what the population of the world thinks. And it's not easy because you don't get a paycheck. If you don't go out and find somebody who's selling or somebody wants to buy to represent, you're not eating. So people, if they're pushed into a corner, sometimes will let some of these things
Cut
fall.
some corners.
Yeah, that's just not good.
Have a blind eye to something because, the end of the month is coming up.
I got to pay my rent.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, exactly. But we try to avoid that Try? No, we do avoid that. We don't give in to that sort of thing at all.
I think it goes right down to the agent's mindset.
It does. It absolutely does. Like I said, I started this with saying I think it's getting a little more lax. It's always been there, but I think it is more dominant in some areas now than it has been before. So when you have that, it really pulls on all of the industry. If you have one or two or three or four agents that are cutting corners, then everybody believes all of you cut corners. I've honestly had people call me up when I have a listing and say, I want you to represent me. And I go, okay, I'd love to. On your listing, great. And they'll say, but I want to get it under the ask price. And I go, I'm sorry, you can't do that. And they go, why? I said, well, we already have offers over the ask. Yeah, but I'm going to use you. And I always say, go use somebody else.
Exactly.
I don't have any ability to do that. I'm working for my client. We're going to get the highest and best for my client.
Correct.
If you want to be that person, great. But we're not going to come in and short the client.
No. Do you have any advice for both sellers and buyers coming on the market when they're looking for an agent? What kind of questions or what kind of conversations should they be having with an agent to kind of tip them off to whether they're going to be the proper agent or not, one of those agents we were talking about before, the not so good agents?
Well, it's the things that intuitively you know. One of the things you intuitively know is if there's too much discussion, too much flash, too much just sign it now. When I say that with nothing to back it up, go slower. And I don't mean don't sign the same day. That's not what I mean. But a lot of times you'll hear people saying, well, just go ahead and sign. You get paid in a week. We can get you out of your house in a week. I worry about that. People worry about marketing. How are you going to market my house? If it's a major company, we're all going to do about the same thing, and almost everything goes over social media. So what are we doing different? I mean, we're on thousands of websites all over the world, so that can't be it. So what makes a difference? I ask people to bring me their history. If I were you, and you don't even know to do that, but I can print out my competition's history. So when I go to a listing appointment, I ask them, who is it that you're going to be interviewing? I'd like to show you apples to apples. We all can do a great presentation, but I actually sell homes.
So when you set those pieces of paper next to each other, you can show what it listed for, what they sold it for, and then what you listed it for, what you sold it for, and show what those averages are above and beyond the list price.
Exactly. So you can see that people, I've had competition where I've come in and I didn't know the people, and they said to me, and I brought their record because they told me who they were ahead of time. And so I put it out, or I'll put it on the screen of their computer. They can see it where I can. And it's put out by the multiple listing service, the MLS. And I'll have somebody who is probably on one page. I think there's 15 or 20 transactions on a page. And you'll see that they're selling at 95% of the ask price. And I'll say to anybody that has that or lower, that's not a good agent.
No.
If they're at 95%, they really don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to price. I always say if they're at 98 or 99%, they're okay. They're an agent. You're not going to get cheated more than likely.
They're your average agent.
They're a good average agent.
Yeah.
We get 107, 105%, and not only do we not just have one page, I don't know how many pages, 20, 30, 40 pages of information you could look at over years of sales. So we actually do sell homes. We know what we're doing. And it's always good to ask them how long they've been in the business. this business is not intuitive, although most people who are not in the business would think that it's intuitive, that all you do is go out, you put the house on the market, people come, they buy it. It's not quite that easy. As most new agents find out, it's actually a long, hard pull to learn the business. It's hard to learn how to negotiate if you don't come with that skill coming in. But again, talk to the people, ask questions. But if you have the history, it cuts through a whole lot. If you can look at the history.
What do you say about those agents who go in trying to buy the listing?
My language, buy the listing. Buying the listing means I am going to offer you a ridiculously low
Commission rate?
commission rate. And let me start with that. We're going to sell it for 1%. And people are going, well, wow, I'm saving like 5% if it's 6. That's a lot of money. It is. Then they come in, they sit down with you, and they say, well, in order to do that, we do it a la carte. What does that mean? Well, we're going to charge you for my assistant. If she has to do anything, we're going to charge you for this. We're going to charge you for that. Some of those end up being 7 or 8%.
Oh, you want an open house?
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Yes. You want an open house? We charge $750 to do an open house. Don't worry about it. We take it out of the commission at the end, or out of the profits at the end. What was the name of that company? They came and they left.
Yeah, it was like a blink.
They advertised all over. They were doing things at a cut rate. But buying a listing.
Purple Brick?
Purple Bricks.
Purple Bricks or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
Something like that. But anyway, they came, they left. They didn't make it because it wasn't about selling. It's about how much the commission is. By the way, folks, if they focus on commission and not results, you should be worried. That is the same as sleight of hand. Do you know what I mean by sleight of hand? Watch over here while I pick your pocket over here. So I get you to focus on commission, and then I don't have to prove to you that I don't actually sell houses.
Yeah, I'm going to charge you only 4%, but my average ratio is 96% of list.
Yes.
So you just ended up losing money.
Exactly. One of my favorite phrases, folks, that I'd love to show you if you're thinking about listing your home, is we're free. How are we free? We're free because if you pay us our commission, full commission, you still make more than somebody charging literally 1%, which they never do. I never finished that story. I want to come back to it. But they never charge, they charge you a lower commission, but they sell so poorly because they're so bad at negotiating that you're taking a hit of 5%. Let's just say it is 1. So they're 6% below what they listed at. We're 5% above. The difference between that is 11%.
And normally those guys will actually list lower.
Yes.
So they can get a quick sale.
Or
on
they
it.
list too high. Many of them are just really not good. So they list too high, and the market, it sits there, even in a fast market, and they can't sell the house. And that's draining for everybody. By the time you realize, and they have long-term 1-year contracts. So they have to, because they don't know how to sell a house, and they need to find the price by having it out there, and they play around with it. By the way, a lot of these places, when they're extreme, 4%ers actually probably charge 4, put 2 and 2 in there. But again, they're not sufficiently capable of getting you the most money in your pocket. But the 1%ers are usually say, I will sell your home and I will only charge you 1%. Then you have them in your house and they're heavy closers. So they're trying to make sure you sign while they're there. And they say, I'm only going to get 1%, but we have to pay the other side 3 or 2.5.
That was going to be my next question, Tim. It's like, what are you paying the other side? There's no incentive for an agent to bring their client to your home. So what are you offering the other side? So that's where that comes in?
Yes. They they know they have to have it out there where agents will bring people. So they have to have it at higher than a split of 1%, half and half, because the agents can take them down the street and get 2.5 or 3%. So if they're getting 2.5 or 3%, it doesn't make sense. It's just not going to happen. It's not the way business works. The other thing that I find very interesting is in the person who is doing a 4, 2, and 2. Again, they take longer on the market because the selling agents are going to go to the 3.5 or 3, the 2, 2.5% before they do a 2 or a 1.5. They don't eat unless they sell a house, and they're not going to sell it for less. There's a number of these companies that are advertising now saying they'll do it for 2%. I haven't talked to them or seen how they do it yet, but if they only charge 2, that'd be 1 and 1. I don't even know if they put it in the MLS for that. A lot of these companies also, and you have to watch it, they're discount company of some kind. Not all of them, but some of them. And they'll take one picture of the front of the house. That's it. And so it takes 20 to 25, 30 pictures of any house to be elevated on Google.
And not only that, as an agent, when I'm reviewing properties on the MLS, if I see just a picture of the front, I'm more apt to just swipe right by it and go, I'm not going to bother. I have nothing to really incentivize my client. Hey, looks really nice. Well, how do you know? There's only one picture of the front of the place. It could be just gutted out on the inside.
And since most of the advertising, which I covered earlier, is done on the internet, most people are looking for properties, at least they start there. A lot of these agents that cut their commission are looking to put one picture, and they hope to get enough people calling them that they can sell it themselves and have both sides so they can get
the 2.5 or
whatever it is. A number of companies, they set it up so they can get listings so they can find buyers. They know they can't sell your house. They put it too high. They did what you said, not what the market said, because they don't know how to read the market. And so they'll put your house out there, and they know it's something people will look at. They'll get some phone calls, and they'll sell them another house because they get more money from it than they do selling the one they listed.
So they're going to turn your house into their office.
Sort of, yes. And there's no incentive to sell it because they get paid better on other houses.
And if they have a long-term contract.
Yeah. It's like having, like you said, an office in the community. So back when we were doing open houses, you'd come in and I'd try and get you so I could take you to another house. It's, like I said, ethics are important. You can always look up DRE and see if there are any complaints because they have to have them there. If any been filed against the individual. That's a real red flag. If you see that, I'm just saying that's not good. Not every complaint is obviously real, but it's not everybody that gets a complaint like that's filed with the DRE that they took and accepted in our business.
Yeah, isn't there a process to have a complaint listed with the DRE? So it takes a little bit to get a complaint published on the DRE?
You can file a complaint, but to get it published, it takes a bit, yes.
Yeah, I'm saying it had to come to fruition to be on the DRE.
I'm not sure that it has to go all the way to where they were prosecuted or they were punished, but it has to be strong enough that there's a whiff of something legit.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's another place you can go. You were asking how they can try and find somebody. You know, it just takes a second. You put in the name, or if you have the DRE number, which we all have to publish on pretty much everything, you put that in. Department of Real Estate, DRE, California. And you should be able to look them up and see what's, and most people will have nothing there. The majority of people aren't going to have anything there.
Excellent. I don't know, Tim. You seem like you nailed it.
Oh, thank you. I've seen a lot of this. Like I said, I used to run the homeowner fraud division, so I am not one who is interested in fraud, and if I see it, I will report it.
Well, being in that position, you were after people who were being unethical. For you to
They were criminal.
not just unethical, they were criminal.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's that. I know, knowing you long enough, there's that sense of justice in you, where it's like, no one's going to pull one on me, pull one on my client. You can smell it right away, because I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of schwarmy type of individuals, and you can. Again, I think that's interesting. You brought it up before and hinted on it, but folks out there should have that instinct. It's like if your gut instinct tells you, there's something not quite right about this person. I know of my own experiences where I've ignored my instinct and he's come back to bite me.
They do.
So if your instinct is telling you something's wrong, you might want to just take a step back, trust yourself, and investigate that further rather than signing on the dotted line.
Absolutely. When I used to give lectures about fraud to the general public, and we do that periodically from my position with the government, one of the things I'd always tell people is, if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Oh,
Not
it
it could
true.
be.
No.
It is.
So true.
If somebody's telling you they can get you an interest rate of 0.5% on a home loan, it doesn't exist. If somebody is telling you that you can sell your house and not pay a commission, you can if you represent yourself. Another thing that I've seen out there more than ever are people who are not licensed, who are operating. So they'll step up to somebody who's thinking about selling, or they'll represent an investor, and they'll, quote, wholesale the property. There is no such thing. Wholesale the property means I go out on the internet and I put it out there for sale, but I'm not an agent. And I offer it at a cheap price that's cheaper than they may even negotiate a deal. One of the ways this can be done, really, I hate to do this because somebody out there watching may say, hey, that sounds slick. I think I'll try it.
Yeah.
But they'll go negotiate a really good deal on a property, somebody who's in trouble, maybe a property that's dilapidated, and they'll get a price that they know that they can get, or that they bought it at, which is way too low. They'll put it out there on the internet, not through an agency, and sell it wholesale, and sell it less than market, but above what they are paying for it, and try to double escrow. So they close, and the other person closes, and they get paid money that should have gone to the original seller. By the way, that's illegal in California. You cannot have a double escrow in California unless the original person agrees to it and knows how much you are selling the second time. And I doubt too many people would be going, well, wait a minute, if you're going to sell at that price, why would I sell to you?
Correct.
It's okay if they close it and then put it on their market as their own property and then sell it afterwards.
Yeah, but not simultaneously.
Not simultaneously. They usually do it simultaneously because they couldn't even apply for and get the loan to buy the first one. That's where the fraud comes in. I could do this all day.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Yeah, I don't want to scare everybody out there. I'm going to tell you, we really do have a golden rule for real estate agents, and the vast majority of real estate agents are trying to do a good job. Like I said, 97, 98%. You're not being, if that's their percentage they get over time, that's fine. I mean, they're not operating illegally, immorally, or
They're doing the best they can.
They're doing the best they can. Underneath that, I'm again not saying that they're unethical or immoral. It's just not as well trained. And therefore, if I were looking for an agent, that wouldn't be where I'd go.
Okay. Well, that should help a lot of folks out there. You know, those questions like, how do you find a good ethical agent? Is having a little bit.
I'm
of
right here. Oh,
Well,
sorry.
yeah. A little self-promotion doesn't hurt.
No, we're here, but we don't do the world. We just do our local area, which is South Orange County. But
Don't sell yourself short. We do the valley on the other side as well.
we do basically Riverside over by Elsinore, Menifee, Wildemar, Temecula, all the way out. Yeah, we do more than that. But I'm just saying, if you're in Wyoming, we're not going to sell your house.
Exactly.
But we can help you find a good agent if you want that, and we're more than happy to do that.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Tim.
Always glad to do this. One of my favorite things to do, you know.
What's
Talk.
that? Talk? No, not you. You don't like to talk at all.
Anyway, I enjoyed this. And yes, we're going to have this as a normal podcast now, right?
Yes, we're going to try to get at least a podcast a week out, if not more. But
And we'll cover lots of topics. Just so you know out there, my experience in selling real estate started in 1982, selling. I ran the homeowner fraud prevention program before that with Consumer Affairs Los Angeles County. And then prior to that, I actually invested in real estate. So if you add all that time up, it's only 50 years.
that's all.
That's it. So I hope I have a lot of good tips for you.
You've been doing this since I was making messes in my diaper.
There you are. That's why, I have it's not
The
blonde.
silver fox.
Yeah. Silver hair.
Well, if you have any questions or you have any topics that you would like us to podcast on, please feel free to reach out to us. You can either comment in this video or you can contact us through elitehomesalesteamoc.com. That is our website. We also have a phone number down below if you want to give us a call. If you have any questions on any topics in regards to real estate, or if you need help buying, selling, or investing in real estate, we're here to help you.
But I do want to add one thing. If you have an agent, go to them for advice. We can't interfere in a contract if you've already selected one. We just can't. We're prohibited. We don't step into somebody else's deal. That would be something for an attorney if you're having some kind of illegal thing. We'll answer general questions, but we can't interfere in a transaction that's going on.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, this is true. Your agent's there for you.
That's right. Like I said, most of them are darn good and care about you.
That's right. Well, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you.